If you aren't communicating effectively with your team throughout any sort of change, then you are not going to get the adoption that you're hoping for. When I talk about change management, I always talk about the three bare bones components of successful change. One, you have to have a really clear vision. Two, you need to have a strong communication strategy put in place. And three, you need to celebrate small wins along the way so that your team continues to feel invested in the change throughout its entire life cycle. Today, I want to focus in specifically on that communication piece and how to build the right type of communication strategy. Those three bare bones steps of transformation are in the order that they are intentionally. So before you get to a communication strategy, you have to have a really strong vision in place for where you want to take your company or why the change is happening in the first place. And then that why needs to be distilled into a what's in it for me statement for every single person that's impacted by that change. And the communication strategy starts with that idea of helping everybody figure out that what's in it for me statement or that WIFM. But it doesn't stop there. It has to continue throughout the life cycle of the entire change. Before you get to that WIFM statement, you have to do a really good job of defining who all of the impacted people are going to be by this change. Even beyond those key stakeholders, you're going to have different audiences that are being impacted by the change, and you need to make sure that you have messaging and communication going out to each and every one of those different audiences. And you're also going to have to pick what types of channels you're using to communicate. You can't only rely on email or only rely on team meetings. Some people read and learn. Some people learn through conversation. You have to have a varied communication strategy so that you can hit people with the message in the way that resonates best with them. You also need to keep in mind that on average, people need to hear something 7 times before it really sinks in. So it can't just be one meeting that you're trying to connect with everybody that needs that verbal verification of what's happening from a communication strategy. You need to have multiple steps of that strategy that hit on those different ways that people communicate. And the last piece that I want to touch on is how important two-way communication is to this entire process of getting change adoption. You can't just dictate that the change is happening and expect people to automatically want to embrace it with open arms. You have to be open to dialogue and ready to take feedback. And you can't just wiggle away from the concerns or the feedback that people are giving you without a strong why behind why you might not be taking it into consideration. You don't have to take every piece of feedback that's being provided to you in that two-way communication street, but you do need to listen to it, evaluate it, and address it. Tell me in the comments, what are some of the ways that you found to most effectively communicate through a change life cycle?